So we'll continue our discussion, which we are doing from Adhuri Kadambani. And as of now, we are discussing about aparad, offenses. So we discussed about Adu Shraddha, then Sadhu Sangha, then Bhajan Kriya. Then in Anartha Nivriti, we discussed about Sukrutut Anartha, then Duskritut Anartha. And after that, we are discussing about aparadas or the offenses. So in the same series of offenses, further we'll discuss about the offense of committing sins on the strength of chanting the holy names of the Lord. So this is quoting from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 29th chapter, text 20. Nahi angopakramve dhamso madharmasyo api maya vivastritah samyan nirgunatvad anatitah. My dear Uddhava, Bhakti or Bhagavad Dharma has such a wonderful effect that once one begins practicing it free from material desire, it can never be even slightly lost or destroyed. This is because it was established by me, who am beyond the material nature. Nahi anu api dvamsaha. He is saying that this is the beauty of Bhakti Yoga, that any aspect, any even a small amount of devotional service being done, it is never lost or never destroyed. Neha vikramanasti prattavayona vidyate swalpampyasya dharmasya tayato mahato bhayat. That is beauty of spiritual life, that even a small amount of practice of spiritual life also gives some result as per the performance of the spiritual activity. So same thing here, Uddhava also is mentioning. Nahi anu api dhamsaha. So seva aparad, they should not be committed in Hariya Bhakti Vilas. There are 20 Vilasas, 250 to 400 verses each, approx 6,000 verses of rules and regulations. If you fail to follow one of them, we fall down. Prapte Shri Ramanavami Dine Mrittayo Vimuddaha Upachanam na kurute kumbhu akeshu pachyate. A foolish person who does not observe fasting on Ramanavami will fall down into the hell known as Kumbal Pakaha. So actually this Hari Bhakti Vilas is written by Srila Sanatana Goswami, which in very detail talks about all the rules and regulations which especially a Vedi sadhaka bhakta is supposed to follow, so that he can protect his spiritual life, he can protect his bhakti. So practicing in Kali Yuga is not very easy because the atmosphere also is surcharged with lot of passion, is surcharged with lot of desire to enjoy, and our conditionings are also very impure. Most of us does not have background of practicing spiritual life in our past lives. Most of us does not have so much inclination or interest for spiritual life. Most of us may have a lot of taste for material things. So because of the environment and because of our unwillingness to practice, to continue practicing spiritual life becomes a great challenge. So still, if somebody wants to practice this Vedi sadhana bhakti, if he very rigidly follows the rules and regulations which are mentioned in the scriptures, then he can continue practicing spiritual life. And for that purpose, Srila Sanatana Goswami writes very in detail the details of all the rules and regulations which a sadhaka is supposed to follow. Like that. Obviously, Srila Prabhupada, he made it simple for us because there are many rules which are mentioned in Hari Bhakti Vilas, which may not be possible for us to follow also. But the important ones which are very vital, they are given by Srila Prabhupada to all of us, and we have to follow them. But we have to know the principle that the rules and regulations which are mentioned, they are of lot of importance, especially for a Vedi sadhaka. Like for a Vedi sadhaka, where it is mentioned that he should have consistency in sadhana. He should daily chant 16 rounds, preferably in the morning. He should daily get up in the morning. He should do Mangal Aarti. He should daily read. He should daily hear about Krishna. Why it is so mentioned? Because if we are negligent about this, then how we become spiritually weak, how which material side of our over surface, we will not come to know. So that is why it is mentioned that somehow or other you keep yourself protected under the rules and regulations which are given for a Vedi sadhaka by the scriptures. And we have seen those devotees who consistently do their sadhana, who consistently take care of the rules which are mentioned in the scriptures, who are fearful of Maya, keep themselves away from Maya. Slowly, gradually, they keep making progress. But those who are not consistent in their sadhana, those who are not careful in relation to Maya, you find they have very fluctuating bhakti. And the fluctuating bhakti does not give any taste. More, it gives lot of frustration. And then what happens? The fluctuating bhakti leading to the frustration, finally, a person falls down, meaning he stops spiritual life. We have to know that in order to continue spiritual life in a long way, we need some spiritual taste, higher taste. And for Vedi sadhaka, the higher taste will come when Krishna sees our genuine desire to have that taste. And how Krishna will be convinced that we want that taste when he sees a consistent effort from our side. When Krishna sees, oh, he's getting up early in the morning, every day he's trying to chant the holy names of the Lord, he's trying to hear the holy names, every day he's trying to read the scripture, he's so careful to avoid Maya, he's trying his best to do things for my pleasure. So when Krishna is convinced by seeing our consistency, by following the rules of Vedi sadhana, then Krishna gives that mercy. And then you get that some higher taste by which you are able to continue. But if not, then it becomes very difficult. Anything in mode of passion cannot last long. If we want something to last long, even on material platform, it has to be on the platform of mode of goodness. Even materially, what to say of practicing spiritual life? So if you are too much affected by mode of passion, if you are too much affected by mode of ignorance, and then thinking that, oh, somehow or other I will just continue like this, it's a matter of time. Somehow we are in association of devotees, so we can continue for some time. But after some time, even in association of devotees, it may become a great challenge for us if we are not trying to ourselves very nicely follow the rules and regulations which are mentioned in the scriptures. So for a Vedi sadhaka bhakta, we need to be humble. We need to know that I am not an advanced devotee. We need to know that for me to be bound by rules and regulation is very important. And we should be happy to be bound by rules and regulation. And we should strive to remain under those rules and regulations. And then you find that by doing so, we'll be rewarded by Krishna. Krishna will give mercy to all of us. So this is here he was talking about the rules and regulations which are mentioned. Then he's saying, Dasmo yam japa mantrena siddhidaha. Simply by only reciting this 10 syllable mantra, it will give perfection. By neglecting or not completing some of the angas of bhakti, does it not produce nama aparad? Never. Committing sin on the strength of the holy name refers to the intentional commission of sin, thinking that the power of devotional activities will nullify the bad effect. So this is considered a very serious sin, that anyways I am chanting holy names of the Lord, even if I do something wrong, that will be taken care. So this becomes a very grave sin. So actually, if you see, spiritual life is a very serious thing. We see when Jagai and Madai, they approached Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu gave mercy to Jagai and Madai, and Mahaprabhu said that don't worry about your previous life and previous sins, but from now on, no more sins. And on that condition, Mahaprabhu was ready to give shelter to Jagai and Madai. So anyone who wants to pursue a journey on the spiritual path, then he need to give this kind of commitment that, oh, okay, I will not repeat now anything which I was doing in the past. I will not break any regulatory principles. I will not commit any sin. One cannot say, oh, I want to chant the holy names of the Lord also. I want to practice spiritual life also. I want to take shelter of spiritual master also. And I want to continue my sinful activities also. Both things cannot happen. And especially if somebody has some weakness, but instead of trying to revealing those weakness to a superior, instead of trying to overcome those weakness, if he justifying his activities and is having a feeling that anyways I am chanting holy names of the Lord, then that becomes a grave sin. We have to know spiritual life is very special. At the same time, we can't take undue advantage of these practices which are mentioned. Because these are divine practices, calling the holy names of the Lord, they are divine practices. How can someone who is calling out the holy names of the Lord can continue to commit sin, thinking that anyways I am chanting holy names of the Lord? And how holy name can be happy with such a person? In fact, how holy name or the Lord will be so unhappy with such a person that taking my name and taking my shelter, he wants to continue what is against the scriptures. You have to know that this becomes a very great sin. In India, many Karmakandi people, they have this feeling and understanding. They have feeling that, oh, you go in Ganga and take bath, all your sins are gone. And they commit sin and then they go in the Ganga and take bath. Same in Christian religion, we hear that how they go on every weekend and then they pray to the Jesus that, oh Jesus, please take all our sins. So, a spiritual master or the devotees of the Lord or the holy names of the Lord or the Lord Himself, they are ready to take our sin provided we are very serious about not repeating them, provided we are very serious about purifying ourselves. But if we are taking advantage of these opportunities, thinking that I'll continue my sinful life, then it becomes a very grave sin. Even if somebody takes bath on in the Mother Ganges, thinking that my all sin will go, and he wants to continue sin, thinking like this, and he'll again take bath. So then he will not get rid of sin. Why Mother Ganges will make him free from sin? In fact, it becomes a offense to the Mother Ganges also. We have to know that how spiritual life is a very serious path, and we are dealing with very secret and sacred things. So these are very divine things in the holy names of the Lord. And those who want to chant holy names of the Lord, they should have that seriousness also that we want to purify our life. We want to avoid sinful life. And when both things are there, then he can make very nice spiritual progress. Otherwise, he'll have a lot of difficulties. Someone who is not willing to give up his sinful life and is wanting to chant holy names of the Lord, the holy name will not come out from his mouth properly. He will not be able to attentively chant. For him, chanting 16 rounds will be a laborsome task. And when he is committing the sinful activities, that time there will be heavy guilt because he chanted somewhat. So neither he can commit sin also properly, nor he can chant properly. So he'll be unhappy both ways. And then in next life also he'll be unhappy because he will not get any spiritual destination. In fact, he may go to hell also. Like that. So he suffers now also and he suffers later also. So one has to be very careful that these are divine things and one has to have that level of seriousness to approach the holy names of the Lord. And Shastras, they do understand that someone may have a conditioning, but he can take right help and he can take right way so that he can purify gradually and eventually, provided if he is serious for purification. and then the same holy name will help. We can see in our youth preaching, in the first year, when the boys they are introduced to the process of Krishna consciousness, in 1 year itself, how much progress they make. Many of the boys they were, eating meat, but they stop eating meat. Many of the boys they may have some, bad habits like smoking or something, but then they stop doing so. They are able to overcome all these bad habits, and they in fact they stop drinking tea and coffee and eating onion garlic also. Why? Because they are taking shelter of the holy names of the Lord with a desire to purify. When these two things are there, then what happens? Progress happens very fast. But if somebody is chanting and is not having a desire to purify, then for him it is a very difficult path. For him it will have a lot of difficulty. And that's why we say, sometime devotees may feel, Prabhuji, he chanting the holy names of the Lord, still how he can act in this way? He chanting holy names of the Lord from so many years, how he can behave in this way? Because he's chanting, but he's not having that desire to purify and improve. Somehow or other, with time, we lose this desire to purify and improve. Why? Because initially, improvement is more on a gross level. So it is easy. You have to give up meat eating, you have to give up tea and coffee, you have to give up onion, garlic, you have to give up drinking, smoking, and so. So when you have this desire, I want to give up all this after hearing from the scriptures, and you take shelter of the holy names of the Lord, then by the mercy of the holy name, you are purified of all these impure desires. But after some time, what happens? The impurities are settled in nature. The desire for name, the desire for fame, material desires for material opulence, desire for money, desire for doing something big in life. So after some time, what happens? The desires, they become subtle in nature. And you have to deal with your subtle impurities. And that time, because of our attachment to these subtle impurities, many times we are not having that desire to purify ourselves from these subtle impurities. So although we are chanting holy names of the Lord, but we want to maintain also these subtle impurity. And that is why after some time our progress becomes slow. Why? Because holy name wants to purify, but then we want to maintain our material desires. But if somebody is taking shelter of the holy names of the Lord and parallelly he is having a desire to improve and purify, then he will make a lot of progress. And this case is worst where somebody is chanting holy names of the Lord and is continuing sin on the strength of the holy name. Then this becomes a aparad, this becomes a offense to the holy name. Like this. And such a person may get some dharma, artha, kama, he may get some material opulence or things like that. But he will not get any spiritual benefit because he is doing nama prat. And because he is doing sin, so those tendencies, they also become more strong. And in next life also he'll continue committing those sins, and it will be very difficult for him to purify himself. So that is why in the scriptures, this thing is mentioned that we have to pray to the holy name, and we have to be very sincere that now I want to purify. This human form of life is for improvement, for purification, and for that we can take shelter of the holy names of the Lord, and then by mercy of the holy names of the Lord we can purify ourselves. So sin is an action. So what is sin? Sin means anything which is against the scriptures. So this sin, what we do, can be countered by the prashita also, atonement also. But naturally, the sin which is committed by the act can be atoned, but the inclination for the act will not go. In fact, it further becomes more strengthened. So any activity which we do in the material world, whether it is spiritual or material, it further strengthens that respective samskara. So if we are daily chanting, it is helping us to develop positive samskaras. If we are doing something wrong, it is further strengthening our samskara for that wrong activity. Sometime our mind may say, oh, after some time I will give up this wrong activity. If we are not able to give today, we can't give up tomorrow also. And if we can give up, then today is the best day to give up. So we have to know this, otherwise it is very difficult. So, so unlike the path of karma, where failure to perform the right perfectly is condemned, on the path of bhakti, the Shastra never condemns the failure to perform all the angas. On the path of karma, the slightest neglect destroys everything and even brings the opposite result. Everything should be done perfectly. No details, everything is important. So he's saying on the path of karma, they are so rigid path because the path of karma is for getting some material benefit. So one has to very strictly follow all the rules. He need to have proper muhurta, he need to have proper brahmana, he need to chant proper mantra, he need to have proper paraphernalia. Everything he has to organize properly. And one mistake done, then he may get opposite result also. Whereas on path of bhakti, even if we are not properly able to perform, or because of something we may uh, commit some mistake, that is forgiven. That is the beauty of the path of bhakti. But in the path of bhakti, what is considered more important is the intention of the performer. On the path of karma kanda, intention is not seen because intention is very clear. Why is doing karma kanda? Because he wants to enjoy materially. So there is no point in seeing the intention on the path of karma kanda. Whereas on the path of bhakti, what is intention? That plays a most crucial role. Because what is bhakti? In that anukulena krishnanu shilanam, so in that anukulena krishnanu is an intention aspect, doing something for the pleasure of the Lord. So same activity when done with this intention, where we want to do it for pleasure of the Lord, then that becomes bhakti. So suppose a devotee, when he chanting the holy names of the Lord, so he may mispronounce because of some reason, or some mantras may not come properly. But his desire is, let me chant the holy names of the Lord for the pleasure of my spiritual master and Krishna. So he does not get any opposite result because of this. And neither it is that he will not get any result. No, because intention is he wants to chant properly. He wants to do it for pleasure of the Supreme Lord. That is the beauty of Bhakti Yoga. In Karma Kanda, intention all are not taken care. You have to pronounce properly. And at this time only you have to pronounce. You can't say actually मेरा भाव अच्छा था, भाव गया बाहर. आपको प्रॉपर पहले चैंटिंग करना है, इसी मुहूर्त पे करना है, इसी प्रकार से करना है, इसी तरीके से करना है. That is how Karma Kanda functions. But Bhakti Yoga is a beautiful process where Krishna sees the sincere attempt, sincere desire of a sadhaka. That is why in Bhakti Yoga there are no limitations. Because somebody may be in any situation, but he can always have his sincere desire to do something for pleasure of the Lord. You see, Gajendra, he is in the midst of ocean or that water where he was caught by the crocodile. Now, when he saw Lord Vishnu coming and he wanted to do something for Lord Vishnu, but what he can do in that situation? He just plucked some flower nearby and offered, and that was accepted by the Lord. That is beauty of Bhakti Yoga. Any situation, there are no limitations to the process of Bhakti Yoga. But if somebody's attitude is not proper, somebody's intentions are not proper, then actually his practice of Bhakti Yoga becomes very offensive in nature. And it will start from his offenses to holy name, his offenses to the process of bhakti. And you will find such a person will also then offend the devotees of the Lord. And such a person eventually will find, will have a lot of difficulties in spiritual life, and sometimes we see they suffer also a lot. Uh, Sometimes in devotee circle also we have seen uh, some devotees who misutilized temple money, or some devotees who uh, did many wrong things although they were devotees. So you will find them dying a very horrible death, and you will find them undergoing a lot of difficulties. So this becomes very difficult, especially for those who take to the process of bhakti yoga, but having a very wrong attitude, a wrong intention. And it happens sometimes because of attachment to certain things, name, fame, post, position, or material things. And person ends up doing all this, and he forgets that I am chanting holy names of the Lord. He forgets for what purpose he has taken to bhakti yoga. He forgets for what purpose he has taken the shelter of the spiritual master. So we have to know, being in the material world, these things will affect us. Somebody having more material opulence, somebody having more money, somebody having more material fame. But we have to keep our focus on that I want to take shelter of holy names of the Lord. This human form of mine is for this purpose, to helplessly chant the holy names of the Lord. I want to die chanting the holy names of the Lord. For me, my success parameters are this. I want to purify myself. I want to have a heart which is full of uh, appreciation for the Lord, which is free from material desire. So when we have our success parameters properly placed, then we don't get affected by other success parameters, which time and again we will be exposed to, which time and again we will see. I remember in our temple, one devotee had brought a very expensive car. So he was showing me, प्रभु जी देखो कितना बढ़िया कार है, इसमें आगे ऐसा है, पीछे ऐसा है, ये सब ऐसा. So when he was showing all this, I just thought in my mind that if I chant one time Hare Krishna Mahamantra, that is far more greater and better than having this car. And then that gave me a lot of happiness. Yare kya itna, you know, he is becoming so happy by having such a big car. But spiritually, if you see, if you happen to chant one Hare Krishna mantra also, only one, that is far better and greater than having such a huge car also. So if you have a spiritual success parameters, then actually you can continue on your spiritual path. If you don't have spiritual success parameters, then time and again material success parameters will come and they will distract you from your spiritual path. टाइम एंड अगेन यू विल फील भक्ति करना ठीक है लेकिन थोड़ा नेम भी होना चाहिए, भक्ति करना ठीक है थोड़ा पद भी होना चाहिए, भक्ति करना ठीक है लेकिन थोड़ा सा ऑपुलेंस भी होना चाहिए, अरे ठीक है भक्त बन जाएंगे लेकिन थोड़ा बैंक बैलेंस भी होना चाहिए, अरे ठीक है जब तो सभी कर ही रहे हैं लेकिन थोड़ा ये भी होना चाहिए. थोड़ा थोड़ा करके पता चलेगा कि हम भक्त थोड़े बचे हैं. भगवान बोलेंगे थोड़ा भक्ति भी कर लो. ऐसा हो जाएगा. एंड एक्चुअली ये आसान नहीं है. कलियुगा में पूरा सिविलाइजेशन ऐसा है. डिवोटी कम्युनिटीज में भी आप देखोगे गृहस्था भी कंपेयर करते हैं, हमारे देखो फलाने साहब ने ये गाड़ी ले लिया है, फलाने साहब ने ये गाड़ी ले लिया है. आप कौन सी गाड़ी से आए हैं? आप यात्रा में कैसे जा रहे हैं? हम लोग फ्लाइट से जा रहे हैं. आप कैसे जा रहे हैं? हम लोग तो ट्रेन से जा रहे हैं. और मन ही मन में फिर सोचेंगे, अपने पति वो पत्नी जो है पति को बोलेगी सुनते हो अगली बार हम भी फ्लाइट में जाएंगे. फिर पति को जो है मेहनत करना पड़ता है फ्लाइट के लिए, पैसा कमाने के लिए. अब देखो अगर हम मटेरियली बहुत अफेक्ट होंगे तो फिर हमारा पूरा एनर्जी जो है ड्रेन हो जाएगा मटेरियल लाइफ में. फिर एक समय आएगा बूढ़े हो जाओगे, खत्म, पूरा मटेरियल लाइफ आपको चूस लेगा ऐसे गन्ने की तरह. जब बूढ़े हो जाओगे सब आपको छोड़ देंगे. एंड देन नो वन विल बी देयर इन आवर लाइफ. यू हैव टू नो इट इज अ ग्रेट ब्लेसिंग टू हैव a human form, and the greatest opportunity in the human form is not to have material success, is to practice spiritual life. And time and again we have to remind all of us about these things. Time and again we have to realign, and we should have those uh, great souls as our aspiration, whose life is centered around spiritual success. You see Goswami Taktva Turnam Achesa Mandalapati, who are Goswamis, Can you imagine the kind of wealth they had? They were earning in gold coins. Now just imagine if they were so rich and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu knew that he wanted to develop Vrindavan through them. Mahaprabhu could have told them that all of you can join also, and all of you can bring your money also. So that I will send all of you to Vrindavan, and the money which you have that you can use for development of Vrindavan. Mahaprabhu did not told them. He wanted them to fully renounce everything and come. Because as far as spiritual services are concerned, that Krishna will arrange. They gave up everything. Having such a high post position and so much opulence. And how renounced they were sleeping under a tree. Now we being a ISKCON movement, naturally for preaching, naturally Prabhupada wanted a missionary spirit in our movement. So certain facilities are allowed, certain gadgets are allowed, but they should not be our aspiration. Many times what happens, the devotees, they see, oh, see, brahmacharis in ISKCON, they travel in cars, they travel in flight, they have such Apple laptop, they have iPhone. मैं भी ब्रह्मचारी बनूंगा, मेरे पास में भी ये सब कुछ होगा, क्या लाइफ है. तो अगर कोई ऐसे सोच के आ रहा है तो उसको बहुत मुश्किल होगा. And he will a lot of difficulties. And anyway, such people, they don't continue more also. But we have to know that we should not have material aspiration. For service, whatever is required, we can take it and we should not become attached to it. Otherwise, we will lose the greatest wealth, greatest opportunity which we have. That is to kindle love for the Lord, to helplessly chant the holy names of the Lord. And both things cannot go together. If you are having material aspiration, then you have to compromise on spiritual aspiration. And if you want spiritual aspiration, then you have to give up your material aspiration. And it is up to all of us that this one life, should we focus more on our spiritual aspiration or on our material aspiration. And actually find the material world, especially now, Kali Yuga, the way it is, if somebody is not becoming serious about spiritual life, he will have only frustration, unhappiness, disturbance, and life full of misery. Everywhere you see now, I recently went to my home. So on the first floor, my parents they stay, and on the ground floor they have kept two people on rent, two families on rent. So these two families also keep fighting. So my mother was telling कि अरे इन दोनों में भी बनता नहीं है. मैं बोला ठीक है, उनका लाइफ है. Then my father was telling अरे इनका किसी से नहीं बनता है. Then I asked my father, आपकी फैमिली में कोई ऐसे दो पेड़ हैं जिनका बनता है? Then my father was telling अरे अब कलयुग आ गया, अब कहीं किसी का नहीं बनता है, सब अलग अलग है. My mother's family, my mother brother has 5 children. So all these 5, they have made 5 separate houses in their 5 farm fields. पांचों के पांचों भाई हैं लेकिन एक दूसरे से बनता नहीं है. So Kaliuga environment has such, even like very close relatives, even one's brother also, there are hardly any relationships now. And no matter how much you want to impress upon, no one is happy with you. If you think that I will have more name, fame, people will adore me, no one will adore. People will become envious. If you think, oh, I'll have a lot of money and all, people will become envious. And that money will cause so much mental trauma to you. In Bhagavatam, in the Avanti section, he talks about around 12 to 15 disadvantages of having money. And it is a fact. The moment money comes, mind becomes very hyperactive, mind becomes very passionate. Right? So we have to know none of the material aspiration are favorable for spiritual life. At the same time, we are not jnanis who want to reject everything material. We know that it is Krishna's energy, but we have to have a purity so that we can use that in Krishna's service. Otherwise, it will affect our spiritual life. So you have to know bhakti is a very special path, and Krishna is seeing our sincere desire and sincere attempt to practice, and accordingly Krishna will reciprocate. Then further he is quoting, on this point there is no fear of an offense which will deprive one of the result. So one thing is sure, what is mentioned here is that as far as some mistake happens while the practice of the process of spiritual life, especially on the path of bhakti yoga, we don't have to have any fear. We try our best, and then Krishna accepts whatever we offer to the Lord, because we are trying to do it for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. So that is what is mentioned here. ये वे भगवतः प्रोक्ता उपाया ही आत्म लब्धये अंजह पुंसाम अविदुषाम विधि भागवतान हितान. Even ignorant living entity, avidusham pumsam, can very easily come to know the Supreme Lord if they adopt those means prescribed by the Supreme Lord Himself. ये वही भगवता प्रोक्ता उपाया. See, कितना ब्यूटी है भक्ति योगा का. Actually, Bhakti Yoga is the only path on which there are no qualification required and there are no limitations. अगर कोई व्यक्ति है, वो अनपढ़ है, गवार है, कुछ नहीं आता है, तब भी भक्ति योगा कर सकता है. आप सोचो भक्ति योगा का ब्यूटी कैसा है. लाइक आई सॉ माई मदर, वो फिलॉसफी उनको ज्यादा याद नहीं रहता है. आप कोई भी उनको लेक्चर लेकर आना, वो फिलॉसफी पूछोगे तो उनको याद नहीं रहता है, बट उनको ये याद है चैंटिंग करना है भगवान की भक्ति करना है, भोग लगाना है, बस अपना करती है, उससे उनका जीवन सफल हो जाएगा. इवन इग्नोरेंट पर्सन कैन चैंट. Even an ignorant person can take to the process of bhakti yoga. You have to just follow what is told by the Lord, and what is told by the Lord is not very difficult to follow also. ठीक है, गीता में भगवान भक्ति योगा का कितना सरल प्रोसेस बता रहे हैं. मन मना भक्तो मध्याजी मां नमस्करू. आप जो है मेरे बारे में सोचो. हम कैसे सोच सकते हैं? भगवान का नाम लेके मेरे को नमस्कार करो, मेरी पूजा करो. भगवान नहीं बोल रहे हैं कि आप जो है 2 करोड़ का यज्ञ करो. भगवान नहीं बोल रहे हैं कि आप जो है 10,000 साल के लिए या कलियुगा में 60 साल के लिए हिमालय में जाके गंगोत्री में एक पैर पे खड़े होके आप तपस्या करो. ऐसा नहीं बोल रहे हैं भगवान. कितना सिंपल बोल रहे हैं. आप जहां पर भी हैं, आप क्या कीजिए? भगवान का नाम जप कीजिए. तो जो द प्रोसेस विच इज रिकमेंडेड बाय द लॉर्ड इज नोन एज भागवत धर्म, or the devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So dharmam tu sakshat bhagavad pramītam. Only the Lord can explain what is the Bhagavad dharma. यान आस्थाय नरो राजन न प्रमादयेत कहिचित धावन निमिल्य वा नेत्रे न सकले न पतेत यः. O king, one who accepts this process of devotional service to the Lord will never blunder on his path, even while running with eyes closed. तो ये दोनों आईज जो क्लोज्ड बताई हुई हैं, उनका अर्थ क्या है? श्रुति और स्मृति. अगर उसको बिल्कुल भी शास्त्रीय ज्ञान नहीं है, फिर भी सही भाव से अगर वो भगवान की भक्ति करता है, तो वो इस रास्ते पे तेज भाग सकता है. ये बताया है, गिरेगा भी नहीं वो इस रास्ते पे. क्यों? क्योंकि भगवान जो है वो सुपर सोल के रूप में फ्रॉम विद इन विल गाइड हिम. That is the beauty of Bhakti Yoga. So here it is mentioned in this way. Even while running with eyes closed, he will never trip or fall. So two wrong interpretation of this verse. On the path of Bhakti, one does not mean knowledge. On the path of Bhakti, one can neglect all the rules of Shastra and does not have to care about the offense I am running. So sometimes people, they feel, they give that, oh, I should not read only any scriptures. So what is mentioned here, whenever such verses are mentioned, that even if like Mahaprabhu, he tells to Prakashananda Saraswati that when I went to my Guru, I asked him, so my Guru told that you are a murkha, so you can't understand scriptures. So that is why you should chant the holy names of the Lord. So now Sometimes one may think, oh, then why to read the scriptures? Why to understand? We can just stand the holy names of the Lord. On the other hand, there are other verses in the scriptures where they say that how if you don't read scriptures properly, then you will not have fixed mind to practice bhakti. You will not have proper understanding, sastric shraddha to practice bhakti. So what is mentioned in these scriptures, the meaning is that you need not to be very intellectual to pursue the path of bhakti. Like for a jnani marg, for a jnana path, one has to have a lot of intellect, then only can pursue a jnani marg. But you don't need to be very intellectual to pursue a bhakti path. You should submissively hear from a spiritual master. And whatever spiritual master says as per your ability, you should try to execute that. And you will find Krishna will take care of other aspects. That is the beauty of bhakti yoga. And also, one cannot neglect anything which is mentioned in the scriptures. So, Nimilya, closing the eyes, that the person has eyes, he is not blind, but he has closed them. He has knowledge, but he neglects certain things. The word dhavan means proceeding rapidly, placing the feet in an overstepping, unconventional manner. Running means fixing one's eyes on the goal, eagerness. Neglect secondary things to dedicate more time to primary things. So he's saying running means fixing one's eyes on the goal, eagerness. And eyes closed means that he wants to avoid secondary things to focus on the primary things. These are the direct meanings. This verse refers to a person who takes shelter of ocean service and is practicing the primary anga. The five main anga, the secondary angas can be neglected. So five main angas which we are aware of, that we practice. And other angas which are mentioned in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So the five primary angas are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, associating with devotees, staying in the dham, worshipping the Lord, and chanting the names of the Lord. So, especially on the process of Bhakti Yoga, the 64 limbs which are given by Srila Rupa Goswami, they are very important. Among those 64 also, finally he boils down to these five most prominent angas, which are very powerful to give love for the Lord. The meaning is that such a person suffers no loss of result, nor is he deprived of the goal. Even if knowing all the angas of bhakti, he neglects to perform some of the secondary angas as is ignorant. So devotee, if he neglects other things also, even other angas also, and he focuses only on the primary angas, then also he will not be short of any result. And this does not mean that he is committing some mistake, and he will achieve all the perfection in life. So that is what is mentioned here. Closing the eyes does not mean ignorance of the scripture, Shruti and Smriti, considered as one's two eyes, for that contradicts the direct meaning. After all, we are supposed to have Shastri Shraddha, or know the meaning and content of Shruti and Smriti. One should carefully consider the meaning of closing the eyes and running, intentionally neglecting some of the angas of bhakti and eagerly pursuing the goal. This and any actions resulting from that mode of progress does not allow the devotee to commit 32 seva aparadh. So this does not mean that one can commit seva aparadh. In fact, if he properly follows, then he can avoid the seva aparadh, and in that way he can make progress. This verse describes a person who has sincerely taken shelter of the process of bhakti as outlined by the Lord himself. In that case, there is no question of intentional seva aparadh. See, the moment we say somebody has taken shelter of the process of bhakti, then it goes without saying that his intention is to purify himself, his intention is to improve, his intention is to avoid any kind of offenses. The 32 Seva Aparad, beginning with entering the temple on a palanquin or while wearing shoes, etc., should never be intentionally committed. Sometimes, under the pretext of performing Raghunuga, devotees neglect rules of Shastra. Mahaprabhu asked Sanatan Goswami to delineate all the rules to be followed by the Vaishnavas. For in the scripture, a person who intentionally commits a seva aparad is condemned as a two-legged animal. Harer api aparadhan ya kuriyat dvipad pamsanah. So one has to be very careful to avoid the seva aparad. Perhaps nam aparad were unconsciously committed either long ago or recently, but their presence is presumed by their symptoms such as slackness in devotion or attachment to objects unrelated to Krishna. By inference, we can understand that offenses have been committed. By constantly chanting the holy name, when Nistha appears, then gradually these aparadhas are nullified. So he says, what is the symptom that we are committing some offenses? Symptom is the slackness in devotion and attachment to material things. So the more we are offensive, that much we'll find slackness in devotional service and more attraction for material things. And sometimes you may find in some devotees, they get a lot of material desire. And sometimes as a devotee, one may be surprised how he can have so many material desire. But why? Because he has committed offenses again and again, because of which Krishna has planted material desires in his heart. He is watering his material desires. He is not watering the Bhakti Lata Beej. So that's why one has to be very careful, especially on the process of Bhakti Yoga. If one wants to make progress, then these two things, especially in Kali Yuga, are very important, that we try to help us. We chant the holy names of the Lord and we don't commit any offenses. We don't commit any aparadhas, and especially Vaishnava aparadhas. If we can take care of these two aspects, then there is a hope for us to receive the mercy of the Lord. Otherwise, it is very difficult. So, further he is quoting Hari Bhakti Vilas, that if someone commits nam aparad due to carelessness, then he should constantly chant the holy name, take shelter. The holy name destroys the offenses of person committing the nam aparad. Constantly chanting the holy name itself gives all perfection. So these offenses are very serious. If somebody commits Vaishnava aparad, then he has to chant the holy names of the Lord and he should ask forgiveness from that Vaishnava. Then, or now suppose that Vaishnava is no more, then he has to get mercy of some other Vaishnava, so that the offensive attitude is nullified. We see in case of Devanand Pandit, he offended Sirvas Thakur. And Mahaprabhu then chastises Devanand Pandit. Now later on, Devanand Pandit, he serves Varkeshwar Pandit. And then he pleases him. And when he was pleased, so Mahaprabhu was very happy, and then Devanand Pandit was free from his offense. So we need to be free from this offensive mentality, offensive attitude, especially towards other devotees. And we have to chant the holy names of the Lord. When we constantly chant holy names of the Lord, then that will make our heart soft and we will become very sensitive to not hurt anyone. The effect of offense committed unknowingly is not very dangerous. Srila Prabhupada said that if some offense happens unknowingly, then every day morning when we chant Vancha Kalpatru to all the Vaishnavas, that time that offense is taken care. But if some offense is committed knowingly, then it has a very serious consequence. Okay, so this will continue now. Vaishnava Ninda is deadly. Lakshman Prabhu. So you can remember, we'll continue from this. Vaishnava
Yes,
Ninda is deadly. Okay. Now we'll end here. Devotees can ask any question if they have. Yes, Pawan, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Humble listeners, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for this class. Prabhuji, in between you mentioned about that point that there it was written that if you are performing primary anga and even if he becomes neglectful, he's not aware, but he's aware, but he's neglecting the secondary angas. Then also there is no problem. How we can understand, Prabhuji? Because is it not like some aparad here on the slide only? It was mentioned that when one is performing the five angas, secondary angas can be neglected.
Actually, what happens now? This happens naturally with a lot of absorption. For we Vedic sadhaka bhaktas, so we have to try to follow whatever is told. But what happens as you grow, like suppose when you start making lot of spiritual progress and you get natural taste for suppose chanting the holy names or for serving the Lord in certain way. And because of that, you are neglecting some other aspects. So that is not considered often. That is not considered a mistake. But that happens for very advanced soul.
How we can understand, because whatever things we are discussing right now, you mentioned that all these things are for sadhaka only. So is it not for sadhaka like us only?
No, what happens, see, in the scriptures, we are on the process of bhakti yoga. So same thing can apply to sadhaka also, same thing can apply to a pure devotee also. Now at our level, the rules and regulations which are mentioned to us, because we are beginner sadhakas. So we try to follow them. But as we grow and then we develop certain attachment to one particular aspect, then with blessing of spiritual master and all, we can continue. So that is not considered wrong. Like recently, Krishnan Prabhu was in Bombay. So he asked His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj that Maharaj, I'm feeling to just stay in Govardhan and chant holy names to the Lord. Maharaj said, yeah, you can take shelter of Govardhan and take shelter of holy name. So he's given that blessing.
So Prabhuji, we have heard about this that when
Mm.
we have attachment for any particular activity, we can give up that we were discussing there in NI also. But I'm asking in the terms of this that it was written that if we are performing the five angas, all the five angas, then others becomes secondary, and even it does not
Yeah.
come in
So that's
offense.
what I'm telling. In our case, whatever is told that we can do. And as we grow, if we are becoming more attracted to some particular aspects, then we can have discussion with superior and we can go ahead. Understood?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, just one more question was there.
Mhm.
Just like you mentioned that if you are not very serious to purify our desires, we are maintaining the desires, or if you are misusing some of the assets what Krishna is giving, money, facilities, devotees, whatever. So sometimes we are very heavy consequences also. So, but if it is happened already, so is there any solution, or one has to go through that suffering? He cannot avoid it.
See, in bhakti is a most beautiful path and nothing is very rigid. It depends on the Lord. Like suppose if somebody misutilized or mishandled before, but now he comes to his senses and then he rectifies his mistake and he sincerely pleading to the Lord. And when Lord sees him that now he has improved as a devotee, then why he will make him suffer? See, Lord does not delight in giving suffering to us. Lord wants us to understand and purify. If that is done, why Krishna will make him suffer? Correct, no?
Thank you, Guruji.
But it is up to the Lord. Lord knows the in and out from each one of us. So he knows accordingly he will reciprocate.
And through you, as you were mentioning that we have to become very much strict for following the rules and regulations. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult because this is the only shelter we have to develop the raga if we are following rules and regulations. But and you also mentioned the point that we grow in the direction where we are putting the endeavor. If we'll commit sin, then we'll commit more sin. If we entertain desires, we will entertain more desires. But sometimes the situations are there that we have some fixed time for sadhana, just like morning is there. But in our preaching movement, many times it happens that we have to adjust the things in such a way that our morning sadhana also becomes affected many a times actually. especially we are if we are here in some nutrient centers. So we lose the track actually. Whatever set of rules we are following, that in this time we'll do this sadhana or this sadhana. But if you are doing it on a daily basis, it becomes very easy. But if you becomes obstructed on a regular basis, then we lose the track. Then we lose the taste also, as you are mentioning. We lose the taste also for reading, hearing when we are not doing on a daily basis. So what we should do in this case?
So see, preaching also is a service, and in our case, many times what happens when we talk about sadhana, then devotees they talk about service. When you talk about service, then devotees talk about sadhana. See, main thing is we have to know that we should not waste our time. So if we analyze our life, how much time we waste, how much time we use in things which we should not have used, then we get enough time for both preaching also or service also and sadhana also. And if our desire is that I want to do it very nicely, then Krishna arranges. So there are devotees who, like during Srila Prabhupada time, after Mangalati itself, they had services from 5:30 a.m. So all the senior devotees whom we know, they would get up early and they would complete their 16 rounds from 2:30 a.m. to 4:30 a.m. Now in our case, we don't have that level of service where from 5:30 a.m. we have to be engaged. Because both things are important, because when we serve, then only our service attitude will be created. And that is a way by which we can do something for the pleasure of the Lord. So we have to see that how best I can serve and how best I can do my sadhana in the situation which I am put up. And if you try this, then you will find Krishna will give you intelligence, Krishna will arrange, and it will happen. And another thing is, we being in a preaching movement, so don't be having a very idealistic idea that every day it will happen like this. We need to have some flexibility also. So flexibility can be there in terms of schedule, but flexibility should not be there in terms of our desire to do sadhana and service. Our desire should be I want to chant, I want to read, I want to hear, I want to do my seva. And then, as per the situation, some things can be arranged here and there. Like sometimes there are days where we don't have so much preaching also, and we have more time, so you can do more sadhana. Is it making sense, Pawan?
Yeah, thank you so much for everything was clear. Thank you so much for taking out so much time. Hare Krishna
Yes.
Prabhuji.
Yes, Kamsuku.
तो जी आप बोलो बस। हाँ तो जी एक्चुअली मतलब जैसे अभी आप बता रहे थे कि हमारी मटेरियल एस्पिरेशंस बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं होनी चाहिए, मतलब अगर दोनों साथ में है तो हम स्पिरिचुअल एस्पिरेशन फिर हम आगे नहीं बढ़ा पाएंगे। तो उसमें जैसे मैं
हम्म,
पूछ रहा था कि जैसे एक एक जनरली जैसे मेरे अंदर है वो टेंडेंसी कि कोई भी हमको चीज़ मिलती है करने के लिए, वो भले ही इधर भक्ति में हो या फिर लाइक जैसे जॉब करते हैं तो वहां पर भी जो हमको टास्क असाइन होता है, कुछ भी करने को दिया जाता है, तो एक टेंडेंसी रहती है कि उसमें परफेक्शन वाली कि मैं बिल्कुल अच्छे से करूँगा। मतलब मतलब खुद को सैटिस्फैक्शन नहीं आता जब तक उसको परफेक्टली नहीं करते हैं या अपने लेवल पे बेस्ट नहीं करते हैं। तो ये फिर अगर मतलब भक्ति में तो ठीक है, लेकिन अगर उधर बाहर है तो फिर ये मटेरियल एस्पिरेशन में तो नहीं आ जाएगा ऐसे।
नहीं ठीक है, देखिए आपके केस में अगर आपका वैसा एक नेचर है तो आप उसको कंटिन्यू कीजिए, लेकिन साथ में आप उस नेचर को एंगेज कीजिए भगवान की भक्ति करने में। तो अगर आप ध्यान से साधना करेंगे, ध्यान से भक्ति करेंगे, तो धीरे धीरे करके अपने आप ही आपको मटेरियल चीजों के प्रति एक रिनाउंस स्पिरिट रहेगा, एंड भगवान के प्रति एक अट्रैक्शन का स्पिरिट रहेगा। तो इसका आप जो है ज्यादा आपको चिंता करने का जरूरत नहीं है। ठीक है, ओके। तो थैंक यू वेरी मच ऑल डिवोटीज फॉर टेकिंग आउट टाइम एंड कमिंग। हरे कृष्ण, प्रभुपाद की जय।